Rev up your engines!
Well, Stellantis' exit from the American manufacturing state is pretty much going on its way. Stellantis is cutting the second shift at their Warren truck plant, and the workers say these layoffs are like a bomb going off in people's lives. Well, they signed a contract. Right, old Sean Fain acted like he really won everything for him. With Stellantis, oh yeah, we got all the stuff for our guys, more pay, blah, blah. Well, now what are they doing? They're firing the people. This is the same thing that's happening with, especially in California. They're saying, well, you got to pay the people that work at McDonald's and the restaurants $20 an hour. Well, guess what? A bunch of them are shutting down now because it was set up for low pay. You make it high pay. It doesn't work. You don't make money, and the restaurants will shut down. Well, in this case, Stellantis cut the deals with the UAW. Now they're laying off the workers. They already had massive job cuts there, and now they're cutting even more. The elimination of the second shift there in Warren could affect the jobs of half of their 3,700 hourly workers. Carlos Tavares, the head of Stellantis, says, and I quote, "The EV race has become a cost-cutting race. We need a significant turnaround, which could mean more job cuts." To me, it makes no sense. They're cutting jobs of the people that are making the vehicles. How do you make more profit when you make less vehicles? The stupid fools, they cut costs, but they don't think in the long run. Okay, cut them all. Don't build any cars. Have no workers, right? But how are you going to make a profit? You don't have any cars to sell. And that's sort of what Stellantis does, is sell cars, right? It's like they're cutting off their nose to spite their face. It doesn't work out too good in the long run. And since this deal with the UAW, Ford has also slashed jobs at the Rouge Electric Vehicle Center in Dearborn. And GM has cut thousands of white-collar production jobs. They're saying, yeah, electric cars are the future, but we'll get rid of a lot of these factories we're going to build, make them smaller, build less electric cars. But it's the future. It's the future. If it's the future's looking pretty bleak. And a guy who works there even said, and he hit the nail on the head, the prices are unaffordable. You can't get a used car for less than 30 grand, and a new one costs 50,000. They're making unaffordable cars. So much for Joe Biden calling the UAW agreement historical. Yeah, it's historical, right? It's sort of the end of a lot of manufacturing in the United States. People just start moving it out. They've already been moving stuff to Mexico for decades. And Stellantis is a European company. You think they give a crap about the United States? They don't care one iota. They just want to sell vehicles here. So, as per usual, make us pay the people too much. We'll just shut the factories down. And since they're European, they don't give one iota. And to me, the big laugh is, especially with the Biden administration's Inflation Reduction Act, right? They include Mexico as part of the United States because they say it's American built, and they include Mexico because it's part of North America, right? It's American built. No, and the brakes on electric cars and stuff they sell, even though they're made in Mexico. It makes you just laugh. You got to laugh at this stuff because you're going to be crying, especially if you work at one of these plants and you lose their job because they're either moving them to Europe or down to Mexico. Well, I'm glad it didn't happen to me. Cybertruck goes rogue, smashes into a home hours after it was purchased. Now, I checked one out last week. Charity brought me one. They're having a raffle, so I got to drive the Cybertruck around. And I didn't drive it all that far, and it didn't run into my house, so I guess I'm lucky. 4 hours after he bought it, it crashed into his neighbor's house. Wouldn't you love that? These things are huge. The driver was waiting for his $109,000 Cybertruck for 5 years. He finally got it. But he didn't have fun for long because there was a mechanical failure that caused the back wheels to lock, a known issue that made Tesla recall 4,000 of them in April. The truck rolled out of the driveway, then unexpectedly accelerated downhill. The driver's trying to get it out of the way, but it does weigh 6,500 pounds and smashed into the neighboring houses, back stairs, and collided with a car there. Now, not only were the repair costs of the Cybertruck $30,000, but they said it's going to be a year for him to get all the parts. Like I say, Elon's building these things, sells many of them he can to keep the stock up. His stock options are worth more money, so then he makes a fortune, right? But he's not making spare parts for the stupid things. So you get in a wreck like this because of a flaw that they recalled them for, right? And now he's got $30,000 worth of repairs, and it's going to be a year before they can fix it. So maybe think twice before you buy one of those things. Jimmy Two-Tone says, my 04 Camry, the pipe next to the flange on the exhaust has a rusted hole. Can I fix it? Well, The problem with exhaust systems are, generally when they're rusted, have rusted hulls, it means the steel is pretty well shot. If you've got a flange with a rusted hull, you can't really weld it over because welding is extremely high heat, and when you put the heat on, the rest of it, which is now thin rusted metal, will just come apart and you can't really weld it. But believe it or not, if you know somebody who's good, you can buy flanges. You can buy the flange assembly. Then you can cut the flange off using anything, hacksaw, cutter, welder, whatever. And then you get the new flange part, then you weld that on to the pipe where you cut it off, and then you can bolt the flange back together. Now, if both sides of the flange are bad, you'd have to do it on both sides. Now, the problem here is you got to find somebody who's a good welder, who's willing to cut the old stuff and weld the new stuff on, and sometimes that's going to cost you as much money as just buying the exhaust piece and putting a new piece on. That's the problem. I mean, it's an '04 Camry, so it's 20 years old. I don't know where you are, but I'm assuming you're up north where they use salt. I had a guy bring me a Camry the other day from Massachusetts, and he had to replace the whole exhaust system. He said, Scotty, I kept patching it here and there, but it was just so rotted away from the salt they use in Massachusetts over the last 20 years that I just had to replace the whole exhaust system, so he did. Now, you could try a little welding, like I say, but when one part's rotten, usually the rest is rotten all over the place too. And unless it's just the flange, which you could cut off, buy a replacement flange and weld it on if you can find a welder. You just have to replace it piece by piece. Generally, you find you change this piece, but this piece is connected to this piece. But that piece is rotten too, and when you take it apart, it breaks, and then you end up replacing the whole thing. Partridge Lane says, my Toyota Sienna van AC isn't cold. The air is only 63 degrees. It cools, but not much. I took it to a mechanic, and they tried to evacuate it and recharge it. Then they said $4,600 to replace the air conditioner. Seems high. The low side pressure is 55 and the high side is 89. So you got a 9-year-old Sienna van with that kind of problem. The low side at 55 is a little bit high, but the high side is low. Start with a mechanic that really knows AC and have them evacuate and fill it up. This could easily just be those clowns didn't fill it up correctly. If they didn't put enough refrigerant in, it'll do exactly that. The high side will be only 89 psi because it's not high enough. Now, if you saw somebody, let's say it takes 1.4 kilograms. You see it evacuate, you see their scale, and it put 1.4 kilograms in. And then you see the pressure is 55 on the low and 89 on the high. Then I'd say for sure the compressor's shot. And it's the 9-year-old Sienna. You could get away with replacing the compressor and the dryer and see what happens. When they wear out, that's what happens. They don't build up enough pressure. But like I say, go to somebody else, a good AC guy. They might have just screwed you over at the first place and wanted to sell you $4,600 and said, well, we evacuated and filled it up, but it's still screwed up, so blah, blah, blah. $4,600, they're basically telling you they're going to replace the entire system. And the entire system isn't going to be shot. Toyotas don't go out that way. Usually it's just the compressor. Now I've seen crazy things, but check this out. This is a solar charger for electric cars. A gigantic thing that folds up. It weighs like 80 pounds or something. You're supposed to stick it all over your car in direct sunlight and it's going to charge your car, right? Now this company called GoSun has an EV solar charger. And it can provide you up to 30 miles a day, if it's sunny all the time, of extra driving, right? Let's get into the real nitty gritty. One, you can't buy it today. It says as early as 2025, they'll have them on the market. So right away. You know, hey, they're not mass producing them yet. Who knows whether they'll be able to do it correctly without them screwing up. Now, it says the charger can process 200 watts of juice, right? Okay, think of a light bulb. You got a 100-watt light bulb. That'd be 2 of those. You know how much that it takes to actually charge a car battery? It would make your head spin. Numero uno. This is only equivalent to the level 1 charger, at best, when it's sunny, right? Take something like a Ford Lightning electric pickup truck. If you had to charge that thing up with a level 1 charger, a level 1 EV charging can take multiple days to fully charge an electric car. You're not going to get that much charge from one of these electric solar panels, right? Now it says several days. That's when you plug it into a house. Half the day you're not getting any sun at all, so then you double it instead of several days, twice several days. So if it was 3 days, it'd take you 6 days. But I love, this is one of these EV articles online, right? There's such EV fanboys who make your head spin. Listen to what the guy says. Now, all of that sounds amazing, and it absolutely is. But there's even so much more to this story than we could ever imagine. Well, I guess these people don't have much of an imagination, right? Something that would take forever. People don't understand. You get these solar panels. You can run cell phones. I've done that, you know. But even running a laptop computer pretty much stresses these things out. And charging an electric car is pretty much a joke. And these things are going to be $3,000. And then it's huge. It weighs 70 pounds and it unfolds. Well, you're going to store this stupid thing, right? Bring it with you everywhere you go. So yet another one of these crazy ideas that the electric people have fallen in love with until, they'll understand that it really doesn't create all that much electricity. And of course, let's say you set this thing up on top of your car if you're going camping or something. Oh, it's the charges while you go camping somewhere, right? Odds are you come back, it'll be gone. Somebody will take it. It's just sitting on top of your car, right? So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.